If you have stepped past 60, I'd like you to picture a very ordinary evening. You eat a light dinner, nothing fried, no fatty meats, nothing that could be called risky. Perhaps a bowl of mung bean porridge, a small oat soup, or a few slices of whole grain bread. You eat this way because you believe you are doing the right thing, protecting your heart, caring for your health. But the next morning, your steps feel a touch slower, your head a little heavy, or there is a brief sway when you sit up. You tell yourself it's age. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it is the body's circadian rhythm trying to tell you something. After 60, the circulatory, digestive, and nervous systems no longer move with the same force as before. Vessels that were once supple become thinner and less elastic. The kidneys filter a little more slowly. Blood sugar rises and falls with less smoothness than it did in youth. And many people at this age take medication for blood pressure, anticoagulation, heart protection, or glucose control. In a body like this, foods that were healthy at 40 can act very differently at 70. Not because the foods have become worse, but because the body has changed its rhythm. Many beans and grains are considered rich in fiber, good for the heart, supportive of digestion, and stabilizing for blood sugar. Yet if eaten at the wrong time, in the wrong amount, or without attention to how they interact with current medications, they can thicken the blood at night, push blood sugar up and down during sleep, and nudge the heart rate higher without your noticing. These quiet shifts are what make a morning feel heavy, vague, and sometimes like the fleeting edge of cerebral ischemia or a small, easily overlooked event. What is striking is how silently this happens. You sleep through the night, but the brain works to keep circulation stable. The heart adjusts. Blood vessels tighten and loosen to hold a line. And when the body is forced to work too hard during sleep, you pay for it in the morning with fatigue, lightheadedness, dimmer recall, or brief lapses in focus that are small yet worrisome. We are not here to ban or condemn any bean or grain. We are not here to sow fear. We are opening a simple truth. After 60, the body needs to be treated with understanding, a slower rhythm, and the finesse of timing and food combinations. With the right adjustments, these same beans and grains can remain a source of energy, warmth, and deep restoration. Now we will look more closely at individual beans and grains, not to judge, but to understand the mechanisms at work inside the body, the reasons some mornings feel clear and others feel hard to begin. Only with understanding do we learn how to protect ourselves. Item number 9. Mung beans. Mung beans have long been regarded as cooling, soothing, gentle for the body. Many older adults choose mung bean porridge or mung bean water in place of heavier meals, trusting it to cleanse heat, calm the system, and digest easily. That is true when the body is younger or when circulation, blood glucose, and kidney function are still robust. After 60, as metabolism and homeostatic regulation slow, mung beans can create a different, quieter effect that is not immediately obvious. Mung beans have a strong cooling nature. In the body, they ease heat, gently dilate vessels, and modulate blood flow. For younger people, this feels pleasant. But for those with lower blood pressure, slower circulation, or those taking antihypertensives and vasodilators, the effect can go further than needed. Blood already moves more slowly at night, and when mung beans are eaten at dinner, especially as a thin porridge or as a light broth, the body may drift into a subtle hypotensive state. There is no dramatic fainting or cold sweat. There is a lightness in the head, a more fragile sleep, a shallower breath, and a few minutes of difficulty concentrating upon waking. Many dismiss this as getting old, but in truth, it is a sign that cerebral circulation was nudged out of rhythm during the night. Mung beans also influence blood sugar. Their glycemic profile may be reasonable, but when cooked thin and eaten alone, especially at night, blood glucose may rise slightly and then fall during sleep. No hunger pangs announce this. Instead, the brain feels a quiet pressure to compensate, and the body releases adrenaline to keep balance. This is why those who eat mung bean porridge in the evening may wake during the night, struggle to stay in deep sleep, or rise feeling mildly exhausted despite a full night in bed. This does not make mung beans harmful. They remain wholesome and beneficial, but after 60, they need the right timing, ideally at midday or early afternoon, when circulation is strong, hepatic clearance is good, and there is time to bring blood sugar back to baseline before sleep. If you prefer them in the evening, pair them with a light protein or a touch of healthy fat, sesame, peanuts, olive oil, so absorption slows, blood sugar rides more steadily, and circulation is not forced into abrupt adjustment. In a body after 60, there is no food that is purely good or bad. There are foods that fit or do not fit your rhythm, your hour, your circulatory state. Mung beans can accompany you for years to come, so long as they enter through the right door at the right time. Item 8. Red beans. Red beans are often seen as a food that supports circulation, provides gentle diuresis, helps the body release excess water, and reduces the feeling of heaviness in the limbs. Many older adults believe that a thin red bean soup or porridge can lighten the body, cleanse the system, and make sleep easier. However, after 60, the body no longer regulates fluid and vascular tone as flexibly as before. The kidneys work more slowly, blood vessels are less elastic, and many people at this age are already taking diuretics or blood pressure medication daily. In such a context, the gentle diuretic nature of red beans is no longer simple. Red beans encourage the kidneys to excrete more water. If the body is in balance and no medications are involved, this effect is pleasant, easing mild swelling or heaviness in the legs after a day of movement. But if a person is already taking diuretics or vasodilators, this double diuretic effect can draw out more fluid than the body can safely adjust during sleep. Dehydration at night does not always present as thirst. More often, it appears as thicker blood. When the blood becomes more viscous, especially during sleep when heart rate is naturally lower and breathing is more shallow, the amount of blood reaching the brain can decrease just enough to affect the next morning. Waking may be slower, the head may feel heavy, memory may respond more lazily, or one may need to sit for a moment before standing because the body has not yet stabilized its vascular pressure. Red beans also contain a significant amount of insoluble fiber. In younger bodies, this fiber is a strength, stimulating digestion and supporting gut health. But after 60, intestinal motility slows. If red beans are eaten at night, especially when the stomach is already tired or dinner was late, the gut must continue working throughout the night to process that fiber. Sleep becomes lighter, breath does not deepen, and the mind awakes sluggish and tired, even if one appears to have slept through the night. The body may have slept, but it did not rest. This does not mean red beans should be removed from the diet. They remain beneficial for both heart and kidney health when eaten at the right time. The ideal time is mid-morning or lunchtime, when circulation is strong and the kidneys have enough capacity to manage fluid shifts without strain. If red beans must be eaten in the evening, the portion should be small and paired with a light, healthy fat, such as sesame, almonds, or olive oil, to slow digestion and prevent the gut from working through the night. A healthy food is only truly healthy when it enters the body at a time when the body is prepared to receive it. And after 60, the body always speaks to us in subtle signals, if we are willing to listen. Item number 7. Black beans. Black beans are often praised as nourishing the kidneys, cooling the liver, cleansing the system, and lightening the body. Many older adults drink roasted black bean water in place of plain water, or eat thin black bean soup as a form of gentle nourishment. And it is true that black beans carry many benefits: rich antioxidants, valuable minerals, and mild detoxifying effects. But the body after 60 does not respond to black beans as it did at 40. A food once balancing can become a quiet strain on the heart, kidneys, and circulation if it enters at the wrong time or in the wrong way. Black beans are both cooling and diuretic. These qualities seem beneficial, but in a body with reduced capacity to regulate fluids and maintain smooth blood flow, they can produce subtle imbalance. Many older adults drink black bean water at night in hopes of sleeping more easily, but nighttime is precisely when the body shifts into restorative mode, where fluid management slows. If fluid is lost too quickly, or if blood becomes thin on the surface but dense in the vessels, cerebral circulation slows during sleep. This does not show itself abruptly. Instead, the next morning reveals it. Waking feels delayed, balance needs a moment to return, the head feels heavy, and memory feels dim in the early hours. Furthermore, black beans contain fiber and plant proteins that are harder to digest than many other legumes. After 60, stomach and intestinal movement slow. If black beans are eaten at night, the gut must continue working throughout sleep to break down these components. When the gut is active, the brain cannot enter a full depth of sleep. The person sleeps, but the sleep does not nourish the brain. The morning arrives with fatigue that has no obvious explanation. Many assume this is simply age, but it is the body having worked when it needed rest. Black beans are not dangerous. They simply need the correct place in the day. Noon is the best time, when digestion is stronger, circulation is full, and the body has many hours to regulate fluids, blood sugar, and temperature before sleep. If drinking black bean water, do so during the day, not at night. When eating whole black beans, pair them with a bit of gentle, healthy fat to reduce digestive friction and support steadier absorption. The beans are not the issue. Your body is not the issue. Only the rhythm has changed. When you adjust your meals to match that rhythm, health returns naturally, without force, without restriction, without fear, just through listening. Item number 6. Soybeans. Soybeans have long been regarded as a symbol of heart-healthy, joint-friendly, endocrine-balancing nutrition. Many older adults believe that drinking soy milk or eating tofu every day helps keep the body light, easy to digest, and a good replacement for animal protein. This is partially true, yet the body after 60 has a characteristic that few people truly pay attention to: the ability to metabolize fats, sugars, and plant hormones found in soy does not function as swiftly as before. And it is precisely this slowing down that creates subtle changes we often mistake for just aging. Soybeans are rich in isoflavones, a form of phytoestrogen that can influence the endocrine system. In the 40s and 50s, when the body's natural hormones decline, isoflavones may help gently stabilize mood and sleep. But after 60, when the brain and pituitary gland have shifted into an energy-conserving rhythm, any hormonal influence, even soft and gradual, forces the central nervous system to rebalance. This is extremely subtle. It does not appear as sudden drowsiness or obvious heart palpitations. It shows itself in small signs. Mornings take longer to feel fully awake. Evenings become more restless despite no anxiety or stress. Nighttime breathing feels shallow, or the body slips into sleep but does not fully arrive there. In addition, soy contains plant protein that is more difficult to digest than most people assume. Once digestion has slowed with age, particularly after 60, processing soy requires the intestines to work harder. If soy is eaten at dinner time, the gut must continue working through the night, and when the gut is working, the brain cannot enter deep restorative sleep. The person may sleep the same number of hours, but wakes without having truly rested. There is another piece rarely discussed. Soy can influence the viscosity and flow of blood, especially in those taking blood pressure medication or vascular support drugs. When soy or soy milk is consumed in the evening, circulation may slow as the body shifts into nighttime mode, making the blood move more slowly through the vessels. This subtle slowing is enough to create morning heaviness in the head, slight dizziness on standing, or a gentle fog over the mind, signs many people overlook as just getting older. But over time, these small disruptions affect concentration, memory, and balance, the core trio of stroke prevention in aging. This does not mean soy should be avoided. It simply needs to enter the body at a time when the body is awake, bright, active, and strong enough to digest and regulate. That time is most often morning or midday. A warm cup of soy milk in the morning can be nourishing, but a cup before bed is a completely different story. And if you have ever woken with a vague heaviness after a dinner including soy, that was your body speaking softly, asking you to shift timing, not to stop the food, but to move it to when the body can welcome it. There is no food that is absolutely. Item 5. Oats. Oats have long been regarded as among the gentlest grains. They appear in heart health diets, blood sugar management plans, weight control menus, and morning routines built on wellness. Many older adults choose a bowl of oatmeal at night, believing it to be light, soothing, and supportive of deeper sleep. But the body after 60 does not respond to oats the same way it once did. And it is this shift in internal rhythm that creates silent changes in cerebral circulation. Oats contain a type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. In younger bodies, this fiber slows sugar absorption, stabilizes energy, and supports digestion. But after 60, when intestinal movement and carbohydrate metabolism have both slowed, beta-glucan can require the gut to work longer and harder. If oats enter the body at night, the digestive tract must stay active for many hours. When the gut works during sleep, the brain cannot drop into deep restorative sleep. A person may keep their eyes closed, remain still, and appear to sleep, but it is not the sleep that restores the brain, repairs the blood vessels, or refreshes cognitive clarity. The next morning, the price is noticeable: slow thinking, difficulty focusing, reduced short-term memory, and a vague fatigue that seems to have no cause. Oats also have a medium glycemic effect. When eaten thin, watery, or alone, especially in the evening, blood sugar may rise slightly, then fall during the night. Nighttime drops in blood sugar rarely feel like hunger. Instead, the body releases adrenaline to stabilize the brain. This adrenaline interrupts deep sleep, causes warmth or restlessness, increases the chances of waking at night, or leads to a morning where the heart beats a bit faster for the first few seconds after waking. Many people have felt these things and simply blamed age. There is one more layer to understand. At night, blood circulation naturally slows. Blood becomes slightly thicker. Vessels contract steadily. The brain requires stable oxygen delivery to wake with clarity. If the gut is still working, or blood sugar has fluctuated overnight, the brain receives less fuel during sleep, and so the morning begins heavy. This does not mean oats should be avoided, quite the opposite. When eaten in the morning or early afternoon, oats can be a steady, nourishing source of energy, lifting the mind, softening the heart, and supporting digestion. They only become a burden when they enter the body as the body is preparing to rest. There are no inherently good or bad foods, only. Item number 4. Glutinous rice. Glutinous rice is a food tied to memory for many people. Sticky rice in the morning, bang chung during the new year, warm, sweet rice pudding, or simply a bowl of hot, sticky rice on a cool day. It carries warmth, fullness, and a sense of comfort. Yet the body after 60 no longer receives glutinous rice the way it once did. And it is in this difference that quiet changes in circulation and respiration begin. Changes subtle enough to be overlooked until one morning the body wakes just slightly slower than before. Glutinous rice contains dense, adhesive starch. In a younger body, digestion is stronger. Digestive enzymes are abundant, and this starch is broken down efficiently. But after 60, stomach contractions weaken, enzyme production reduces, and carbohydrate absorption slows yet becomes more concentrated. This means blood sugar rises more sharply in a short time and then drops suddenly as the body tries to stabilize itself. These fluctuations do not happen during the day when the body is active, they happen during sleep. When blood sugar drops at night, the body must release adrenaline and cortisol to restore balance. These hormones constrict blood vessels and make the heart beat slightly faster. Sleep becomes just shallow enough that the brain cannot enter deep restoration. People who eat glutinous rice at night rarely notice that they wake or stir, but the next morning they often feel heavy in the head, slower to step out of bed, needing a hand on the wall or the bed frame for balance in the first moments. That sensation is not just age, it is the brain's circulation struggling to re-establish steady clarity. Glutinous rice also retains water in the intestines, causing the digestive system to continue working through the night. And when the gut is working, the brain cannot fully rest. A sleep that lasts many hours may not bring actual recovery. The person only knows they are tired without knowing why. This does not mean glutinous rice must be given up. It can still nourish if it enters the body at the right time. In the morning, when the body has many hours to metabolize and regulate, glutinous rice brings warmth and steady energy. But at night, it forces the body to work when it is meant to rest. So simply shifting the food toward daylight instead of into the darkness of sleep allows glutinous rice to remain a food of comfort and peace. No food is at fault by itself. There are simply moments when the body needs it, and moments when it does not. When we respect this timing, we do not need strict avoidance, only a gentle adjustment in rhythm. And that small adjustment protects the circulation. Item number 3. Polished white. White rice is nearly inseparable from the family table. It represents simplicity, familiarity, and sufficiency. For many older adults, a meal without rice feels incomplete no matter what else is served. But because rice is so familiar, we rarely pause to ask whether the body, after 60, still welcomes it in the same way. Polished white rice has had almost all of its bran and germ removed, the parts that contain fiber, B vitamins, and minerals that help regulate blood sugar. What remains is mostly quick-absorbing starch. When the body is young, the pancreas and liver respond easily to the rise in blood sugar, distributing energy smoothly to the muscles and brain. But after 60, insulin responsiveness slows. Cells become less sensitive to the signal to absorb sugar, causing glucose to linger in the bloodstream longer than before. This does not cause an obvious spike that one can feel. Instead, it creates a quiet fluctuation, especially when rice is eaten at dinner. At night, the circulatory system naturally slows, the heart softens its rhythm, and the brain shifts into restoration. If blood sugar remains elevated during this quiet phase, the blood becomes ever so slightly thicker and the vessels narrower. In that state, even a brief drop in blood pressure or oxygen can cause the brain to momentarily disconnect. The person does not faint, does not panic, but wakes with heaviness, must rise slowly, and takes a few seconds to find balance. White rice also encourages overeating, often more than the body actually needs. The later one eats, the longer the digestive system must continue to work, and the intestines remain active deep into the night. And as long as the gut is working, the brain cannot enter the deep sleep that replenishes neural cells and keeps blood vessels supple. Many people say, "I slept 7 or 8 hours, but still feel tired." This is not lack of sleep, it is sleep without restoration. And sometimes the cause is simply a late bowl of white rice. White rice is not harmful. It simply needs to be placed in the right part of the day. When eaten at lunch, when the body has many hours to metabolize, energy moves naturally to the muscles and mind. But when rice enters the body just as it prepares to rest, it becomes a quiet burden that circulation must navigate while the brain tries to sleep. If you find that your mornings are beginning more slowly, try changing the timing of when you eat rice. No need to cut it, no need to force restriction. Just bring it back toward the daylight. Sometimes one small shift is all it takes to restore a clarity you thought had slipped away forever. Item number 2. Peanuts. For many people, peanuts are a simple, familiar food. A small dish of roasted peanuts during a family meal, crushed peanuts mixed with sesame and salt, a bowl of plain porridge served with peanuts, or sometimes just a light snack in the evening. They carry warmth, richness, and an earthy sense of home. But after 60, the body no longer processes peanuts the way it once did. And it is this quiet shift that allows peanuts to become one of the foods most likely to disrupt cerebral circulation if eaten at the wrong time. Peanuts are rich in fat, but the kind of fat they contain is dense and harder to digest, requiring the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas to work more intensely. In youth, the body has enough strength to break down and convert this fat into energy. But after 60, digestive enzymes, liver function, bile production, and intestinal mobility all begin to slow. This makes peanuts heavier and slower to digest, especially if eaten in the evening. A small plate of roasted peanuts, seemingly harmless, can keep the intestines working for hours while the brain is trying to enter deep sleep. And when the digestive system is active, the brain cannot fully rest. Sleep becomes lighter, more easily interrupted, filled with dreams, and the next morning brings a heavy head, a few quick heartbeats upon waking, or a brief loss of balance when rising from bed. There is also another factor many overlook. Peanuts can contain aflatoxins, microscopic fungal toxins that form in warm, humid environments. At low levels, they do not cause acute illness or immediate dizziness. They accumulate slowly. The liver at 60 no longer filters these toxins efficiently, so even small amounts can become a burden. When the liver is strained, the blood becomes slightly thicker and flow slows through the vessels. These changes are subtle enough to cause no pain, but significant enough to reduce oxygen supply to the brain in small, sustained degrees. Over time, this leads to morning dizziness, instability in the first steps of the day, or memory that feels just slightly slower. Change is often dismissed as old age, when they are in fact the quiet effects of circulation under strain. Additionally, peanuts can increase blood viscosity in some individuals, particularly those taking antihypertensive medication or blood thinners. When eaten at night, at the very moment circulation naturally slows, the blood can thicken further and move more sluggishly through the brain's fine vessels. A slight shift in blood pressure during a sleep cycle can then result in brief episodes of reduced oxygen supply to the brain, noticed only in the morning as the difficulty of getting into the day. This does not mean peanuts are harmful or should be excluded entirely. They simply need to be placed in the right part of the day. When eaten at midday, the body has the digestive strength to break them down. The liver has time to filter, and circulation has hours to recalibrate before sleep. Peanuts eaten during daylight can still be a wholesome, grounding source of energy. But when they enter the body at night, they keep it awake while the mind believes it is asleep. The issue has never been about good food or bad food. It is about whether the body is still living in the rhythm of yesterday or whether its rhythm has changed. When we learn to listen to that new rhythm, we do not need drastic avoidance. We only need to shift timing. And often it is that small shift that quietly protects us from the unnamed fatigue that greets us each morning. Item number 1. Cornflakes and refined breakfast cereals. Many people after 60 begin choosing lighter meals, hoping for something easier to digest, and so a bowl of cereal with milk becomes a common breakfast. It is quick, convenient, requires no cooking, and is often marketed as heart-healthy. But beneath that convenience lies a physiological reality that many older adults are never told. Most breakfast cereals, like cornflakes, have been stripped of their natural fiber, minerals, and vitamins. What remains is mostly processed starch that dissolves and enters the bloodstream almost instantly. At 40, this is rarely a problem. The pancreas is still strong, the cells remain responsive to insulin, and blood sugar rises and falls with natural precision. But after 60, even if blood tests do not yet show diabetes, insulin sensitivity has already diminished quietly over the years. When a bowl of cornflakes is eaten in the morning, blood sugar rises quickly and then drops just as quickly. And it is this drop that exhausts the body. When blood sugar falls, the body must release adrenaline and cortisol to compensate. The heart beats faster, blood vessels constrict, and blood flow to the brain shifts suddenly. In a younger person, this might feel like a moment of jitters. But in someone whose vascular walls have thinned, whose history may include high blood pressure, or who takes blood thinners, that same shift can become the beginning of a transient ischemic episode, a brief shortage of blood to the brain. You may not notice it immediately. It appears quietly. A slight dizziness when standing, a subtle slowing of memory in the afternoon, a moment when words feel harder to find. Many assume this is just aging, but often the cause is simply the breakfast eaten at dawn. The situation becomes more concerning when cereals marketed to older adults are sweetened with honey or natural syrups, beautiful names that disguise what they truly are: sugar. The body does not care what the sugar is called. It responds only to how fast it enters the blood. When sugar enters quickly, the blood thickens, the vessels tighten, and the brain must fight to maintain balance. This struggle repeats every morning, and day by day, the body grows tired. Cornflakes are not the enemy. They simply move too quickly for a body that now needs slowness. After 60, the body does not need speed. It needs steadiness. It does not need sugar spikes. It needs gradual nourishment. It does not need a quick breakfast. It needs a stable beginning. Stability is what protects the brain. Stability is what prevents a silent stroke. After 60, the body no longer runs at the speed of youth. Everything slows: circulation, digestion, the body's ability to steady blood sugar and regulate pressure within vessel walls. Yet our meals often don't change. We still eat as if we were 40, 30, even 20. The gap between a changed biological rhythm and an unchanged eating habit is exactly what opens the door to nighttime events. Food doesn't just affect the stomach, intestines, or weight. It shapes how blood moves through vessel walls, how the heart sets its rhythm, and how the brain maintains oxygen when the body drifts into rest. Beans and refined grains that seem harmless can spike blood sugar and then drop it sharply just a few hours later. That drop forces the body to release adrenaline to keep you going. Adrenaline does more than lift glucose. It tightens vessels, makes the heart beat harder, and destabilizes blood flow. All of this unfolds precisely when the brain is most vulnerable, at night, when blood is already thicker and intravascular pressures are shifting. The risk doesn't come only from the food itself. It arises from combinations older adults are rarely taught to consider. A refined cereal eaten with low-fat milk can accelerate glucose absorption even further. Cereal at night instead of in the morning gives the body no time to resolve the metabolic surge before sleep. And when someone on blood pressure medication or blood thinners isn't aware that their breakfast is amplifying pressure swings, the meal stops being nourishment and becomes a challenge the body must fight through. All of this leads to a simple truth. After 60, health depends less on what you eat than on when you eat, what you pair it with, and the medication context your body is operating within. Breakfast can nourish the brain and keep you sharp all day if it follows a slow, steady rhythm with fiber and protein. That same breakfast, built on fast-absorbing starches, can propel you into a cycle of glucose swings, afternoon fatigue, and shallow sleep at night. When your eating rhythm matches your body's rhythm, blood flows smoothly. When blood flows smoothly, vessels rest. When vessels rest, the brain is well supplied. And when the brain is well supplied, memory feels clear, steps feel steady, and the day begins with alertness instead of fatigue. When the meal rhythm falls out of sync, the opposite opens up. Stroke stops being a bolt from the blue and becomes an accumulation, quiet, meal by meal. Health at this age isn't combat, it's adjustment. Not cutting out, but setting things back in place. Once we understand, we don't need to fear food. Here is what many overlook. Changes that seem small and safe can directly influence the medicines you take every day. When you're young, the body self-corrects powerfully. After 60, a shift in diet can raise or lower blood pressure overnight, render blood thinners too strong or too weak, or swing blood sugar enough to cause dizziness, imbalance, or even a transient ischemic attack. People often think they simply don't agree with aging or didn't sleep well. But those are signs the body is scrambling because meals and medications have fallen out of step. Medicine only works properly when your diet is stable. A small change in starch amount, meal timing, or grain type can turn a once appropriate dose into too much or not enough. The body won't announce this loudly. It whispers through subtleties: a mind a beat slower, a brief lightheadedness on standing, a vague restlessness, a flicker of irregular heartbeat when lying down, a morning that takes longer to clear. These are the body's reminders that it's time for a serious conversation with your doctor. Not to collect more pills, but to ask, what meal rhythm fits the medications I'm on now? Speaking with your doctor is not seeking permission. It is protecting your circulation. It ensures meals do not oppose medicine, medicine does not oppose the body, and the blood feeding the brain remains smooth, even, and steady. After 60, health doesn't hinge on a single factor. It depends on how well the pieces fit: meals, medications, sleep, daily rhythm, and stress load. Only when they move in the same direction can the body walk towards stability and clarity. That stability is not luck, it is choice. Your choice to understand your body, listen to it, and never treat a meal as something small. At this age, the smallest things decide whether you wake tomorrow in a strong body or in a body straining to keep pace. If you have stayed with me to this point, then somewhere in your body and your heart there is a part that wants to understand itself more deeply, to live more awake, to keep the clarity, balance, and strength of the years ahead. Health does not leave us in an instant. It drifts away bit by bit, through shallow nights, brief morning sways, days when memory slows by a beat. The reverse is also true. Health can return, little by little, if we begin with something as simple as choosing a different kind of breakfast. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, what has my body been trying to tell me that I haven't heard? Have I labeled fatigue as just age, instead of looking closely at my daily rhythm? Have I treated meals as a habit instead of as a way to protect my brain, my heart, and the future of my memory? If an answer rises, even a faint one, share it. Not to complain, not to perform, but so others can see they are not alone on this path. Many are trying to understand their bodies. Sometimes a single story spoken aloud helps someone else avoid a silent event. Leave your age, where you live, and what you noticed in this message. And if today's message resonates, like the video and subscribe. Not for an algorithm, but because you are choosing to walk alongside knowledge that makes you stronger day by day. Helping you cross 60, not with fear, but with understanding and agency. Health after 60 is not a fight to keep what used to be. It is the art of adjusting so you can live on with clarity. Every choice from today onward can be the thread that pulls you toward greater steadiness. And if you do not protect your body, no one can do it for you. Choose yourself. Choose wakefulness. And remember, older age is not a retreat. It is the moment you gain the chance to live more deeply than ever before.